In our headlines on this Thursday afternoon, January 18th, here on the Korean Peninsula. Moscow looks to advance its ties with Pyongyang in all areas, including the sensitive, according to the Kremlin on Wednesday. The remarks come amid trilateral talks here in Seoul with nuclear delegates from Tokyo and Washington in response to Pyongyang's hostile ambitions. Over in the Middle East, U.S. military authorities engage in a fourth round of strikes against land-based Houthi targets in Yemen in less than a week on Wednesday, as the rebels maintain their assaults against commercial ships in regional waters. Also on Wednesday, Samsung Electronics hosts an Unpacked event at San Jose to share its latest Galaxy innovations that offer an unprecedented mobile experience fueled by artificial intelligence. We start in Russia, where the Kremlin says talks between President Vladimir Putin and North Korea's top diplomat Choe Son-hui was centered on bolstering bilateral ties, including, quote, in sensitive areas. Our Choe Son-hui has details.
North Korea and Russia are looking to strengthen their ties during North Korean Foreign Minister Choe Son-hui's visit to Moscow. They have discussed enhancing bilateral relations in all areas, including sensitive areas, according to Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov on Wednesday. No specific details were given regarding the sensitive areas, but they seem to involve military cooperation. Military cooperation between Moscow and Pyongyang has been deepening since the 2022 invasion of Ukraine, with the North providing arms to Russia in exchange for Russia providing technical assistance. North Korea has expressed a proactive stance in joint actions, particularly on the Korean Peninsula. The Kremlin called the North its closest neighbor and partner.
We confirm our principled position supporting the inclusive and fair resolution of existing problems. We have always supported the start of negotiations without preconditions in order to work for lasting peace and stability throughout Northeast Asia.
Moreover, the two have agreed to cooperate on food supply, mining development and cultural exchanges. According to the officials, Russia will supply North Korea with food like corn, and the North will cooperate with Russia on the extraction of minerals such as gold and rare earth elements. Also, Pyongyang will permit group tourism for Russians starting February, marking the first time it will allow tourists in 4 years since its lockdown due to the COVID-19. Putin's potential visit to Pyongyang may have also been discussed, but was not mentioned publicly. Choe Son-hui, Arirang News.
Here in Seoul on this Thursday, nuclear delegates of South Korea, Japan and the U.S. are addressing North Korea's hostile weapons ambitions amid concerns over related collaboration with Russia. Kim Gon and his U.S. counterpart Chung Pak and Japanese counterpart Hiroyuki Namatsu are gathered here to explore efforts to better respond to security concerns on the peninsula. Earlier on Wednesday, bilateral talks between the delegates of Seoul and Tokyo called for tougher defense initiatives with Washington. Meanwhile, the Biden administration is assessing North Korea's space capabilities, and the level of threat posed by the regime remains unclear at present. Remarks to this end were made on Wednesday by John Plum, First Assistant Secretary of Defense for Space Policy. He did, however, point out the U.S. would take North Korea's space endeavors, quote, seriously if it showed signs of warfare capabilities. North Korea claims it marked a successful spy satellite launch in November and plans to launch 3 more this year. A trilateral maritime drill among South Korea, Japan and the U.S. in waters of Jeju Island came to a close on Wednesday after a broad display of might in light of North Korea's hostile weapons intentions. Our defense correspondent Choi Min-jung has more.
South Korea, the U.S. and Japan held a trilateral maritime exercise in waters of Jeju Island from Monday to Wednesday in a show of force against North Korea and its escalating security threats. The Joint Chiefs of Staff said Wednesday that a total of 9 ships participated, including Seoul's Aegis-equipped destroyer Sejong the Great, the U.S. aircraft carrier Carl Vinson, and Tokyo's Kongo-class destroyer. This is reportedly the largest number of ships to take part in a drill by the 3 countries. The last time the USS Carl Vinson made a stop in South Korea was 2 months ago, ahead of North Korea's spy satellite launch. The nuclear-powered aircraft carrier is roughly 3 soccer fields long, has a crew of around 6,000, and carries more than 90 aircraft, including FA-18 Super Hornet fighter jets. This time around, the Trilateral exercise comes amid heightened tensions following North Korea's recent test firing of what it claims was a hypersonic missile. The JCS said the aim was to improve deterrence capabilities against North Korea's nuclear and maritime security threats, including the ability to intercept the transportation of weapons of mass destruction. It's the first three-way exercise to be held after the three nations established a multi-year exercise plan last December to better counter growing provocations from Pyongyang.
The exercise seems to be in line with the Washington Declaration between Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo, and also to strengthen extended deterrence in response to North Korea's recent artillery drills and the launch of an intermediate-range ballistic missile.
Professor Yang added that although such exercises may have a deterrence effect, North Korea's continued attempts at using such exercises as justification for their provocations may bring about further tension on the peninsula. Choi Min-jang, Arirang News.
And turning to the unrest in the Middle East, U.S. defense forces have launched yet another series of strikes against land-based Houthi targets in Yemen, while U.S. security authorities place the rebels back on their list of terrorist groups. Our Isingje has the latest.
Washington on Wednesday redesignated Yemen's Houthi rebels as specially designated global terrorists amid tensions in the Red Sea region. The announcement comes after the U.S. launched strikes on Houthi targets in Yemen in response to the militant group's attack on commercial ships in the Red Sea. According to a written statement from White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan on Wednesday, the designation is an important tool to impede terrorist funding to the Houthis, further restrict their access to financial markets, and hold them accountable for their actions. The National Security Advisor added that if the Houthis cease their attacks in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, the designation would be re-evaluated as it does not take effect for 30 days. And according to the Israel Defense Forces Chief of Staff on Wednesday, the likelihood of Israel being drawn into a war in Lebanon against Hezbollah is growing. The IDF chief said Israel was increasing readiness for fighting in Lebanon as it looks to stabilize its northern border. He added that the Israeli military would apply lessons it had learned from fighting in Gaza if it embarks on a campaign to push Hezbollah and others threatening Israel away from the border. Meanwhile, the head of the Palestine Investment Fund said Wednesday that at least $15 billion will be needed to rebuild houses in Gaza, explaining the scale of devastation caused by Israel's offensive. The group's chairman cited international reports saying 350,000 housing units had been completely or partially damaged in Gaza. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Samsung Electronics has shared its Galaxy S24 series, pledging an unprecedented mobile experience powered by artificial intelligence. Our business correspondent Shin Ha-young reports.
The South Korean tech giant has unveiled its first AI smartphone, the Galaxy S24 series. This lineup includes the S24, the S24 Plus, and the S24 Ultra, boasting various functions backed by artificial intelligence.
As mobile devices become the primary access point for AI, Samsung Galaxy will be an open gateway for secure and meaningful AI experiences on a global scale.
The most significant feature is the on-device AI, which allows users to enjoy the cutting-edge technology of generative AI without connection to the cloud. The Galaxy S24 series comes with Live Translate, providing two-way, real-time voice and text translations during phone calls, breaking down language barriers. No third-party apps are required, and on-device AI ensures complete privacy for conversations. In collaboration with Google, Samsung has introduced the Circle to Search feature. While browsing the web or using social media, users can simply draw a circle on the screen to search for the information instantly without the need to switch to other app. Thanks to AI, the camera quality has improved compared to its previous model. With upgraded features like nitography, photos and videos shot are clear even when using the zoom feature in low-light environments, such as at night. With its Galaxy AI editing tools, it can also fill in parts of an image background. If an object needs a slight adjustment, AI allows users to move the subject and generates a perfectly blended background in its original spot. Some experts have questioned the need for AI smartphones, expressing concern about whether on-device AI can offer truly new experiences, especially given that numerous useful apps already exist. However, one expert says it differs from existing services.
The fact that AI services are provided more quickly, even in offline environments, adds unique appeal. Now, the question is how widely this new experience will spread. I expect that AI smartphones will introduce a whole new dimension, fostering widespread adoption.
The S24 Ultra is priced from $1,300, the S24 Plus will cost $1,000, and the S24 will retail at $800. The series will be available in stores across the world from January 31st. 신하영, Arirang News.
In other news, Korea's Webtune industry expanded further in 2022 to mark the 5th consecutive year of growth. According to Seoul's Culture Ministry on Thursday, the industry raked in over $1.3 billion in sales in 2022, up almost 17% on year. Despite the favorable findings for the industry as a whole, annual earnings for Webtune writers fell by over $15,000 on year amid greater competition. Meanwhile, the Culture Ministry is poised to unveil plans to better support the industry within this month. Korea's financial regulator has pledged tax reforms in better support of individual investors. Our Moon Hye-ryun explains.
Cutting taxes on stock transactions in stages and offering interest payment refunds are just some of the reforms announced by the Financial Services Commission at a government policy briefing open to the public on Wednesday. President Yoon led the briefing and stressed the need to revitalize the capital market.
대한민국에는 글로벌 경쟁력을 갖춘 글로벌 기업들이 많이 있습니다만은 우리의 주식 시장은 매우 저평가되어 있습니다. 우리 시장 역시 다른 나라 시장과 경쟁하고 있기 때문에 글로벌 스탠다드에 맞지 않는 자본시장 규제를 과감하게 혁파해야 됩니다.
The first rung on the proposed ladder of financial opportunity comes in the form of scrapping the capital gains tax on income from financial investments that were due to be introduced next year. With its implementation, investors who earned more than a certain amount through stock investments would have to pay at least 20% tax. But now it's being dropped in a bid to boost investor sentiment. Lowering the stock transaction tax had been proposed as a means to combat the capital gains tax. But even with the latter being written off, it's still set to be lowered to 0.15% by 2025. Furthermore, the government will be carrying out a makeover to its individual saving account products as early as next month, by more than doubling the maximum limit on the non-taxable amount through the scheme, but also introducing a new type of ISA that's focused on domestic stock investments. Authorities predict that people will be able to see up to just over $1 million of tax benefits if they subscribe to an ordinary ISA for the minimum requirement of 3 years, which is more than double the amount before the reform. Other than tax reforms, the government has pledged to aid people in managing debt through interest reduction plans, especially for financially vulnerable groups such as self-employed workers and small business owners. Some 1.87 million such people who have taken out loans from banks will be eligible to receive up to 3 million won each in interest payment refunds. Another new policy that will be put into practice to help people start the new year on a new page is renewing overdue loan payment records. Up to 2.9 million people can improve their credit scores should they repay the full overdue amount by May this year. Moon Hye-ryun, Arirang News.
Also in local news, Korea's Jeollabuk-do Province has launched itself as a special autonomous province. The launch comes in line with the Yoon administration's broader national strategy to foster balanced regional growth. That being said, earlier on this Thursday, Jeollabuk-do became the third province in the country to acquire self-governing status, granting it the authority to shape and practice policies independent of the central government. Accordingly, the largely rural area is expected to adopt visa and employment regulations that allow for a greater presence of foreign laborers in the province. At the launch ceremony today, President Yoon Suk-yeol reaffirmed his commitment to supporting locally driven growth initiatives for national prosperity. Over in the Swiss ski resort of Davos, leaders at this year's World Economic Forum are highlighting the importance of action over words with regard to tackling climate change, as the head of the United Nations calls for tangible efforts to phase out fossil fuels. Our Ian Jin reports.
The climate crisis is in the spotlight at this year's annual World Economic Forum underway in Davos as one of the most alarming risks over the next decade. On Wednesday, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres reminded leaders of governments and businesses that the phase-out of fossil fuels is essential and inevitable to avoid a global climate catastrophe.
Let me be very clear again. The phase-out of fossil fuels is essential and inevitable. No amount of spin or scare tactics will change that. Let's hope it doesn't come too late.
The UN chief emphasized that our planet is still heading for a scorching 3 degrees increase in global temperatures, and natural disasters like droughts, storms, fires, and floods are destroying countries and communities. He alarmed leaders by stating that while 2023 went down as the hottest year on record, but could be considered cool compared to temperatures in the future. The EU's Copernicus Climate Change Service revealed just last week that 2023 had been the hottest year on record, with major implications for keeping global warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius. That followed the recent COP28 climate summit in Dubai, where nearly 200 countries agreed to begin reducing global consumption of fossil fuels to avert the worst of climate change. Meanwhile, International Monetary Fund Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva said that countries need to shift some $7 trillion in direct and indirect annual subsidies for fossil fuels to help finance the fight against climate change, adding that the price of subsidies need to be set at $85 per ton by 2030. And John Kerry, the outgoing U.S. Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, affirmed that the transition toward clean energy and electric vehicles will not be interrupted, regardless of who wins the 2024 U.S. presidential election, adding that a revolution is underway that is much bigger than any politician or any one person. Ian Jin, Arirang News.
Back here in Korea, we are counting down exactly 1 day to the 2024 Winter Youth Olympics in Gangwon-do Province, and the head of the International Olympic Committee has cast his vote of confidence in the event's success. My colleague Song Yoo-jin covers his remarks.
All is set for a successful Winter Youth Olympic Games. These are the words of Thomas Bach, the president of the International Olympic Committee, regarding Gangwon 2024, as the Games are known. The IOC head took a tour on Wednesday of the Youth Olympic Village in Gangneung, one of 2 athletes' villages for the Games. Accompanying him was Choi Jong-gu, the executive president of the Gangwon 2024 organizing committee. As a former athlete himself, his utmost interest is in the well-being of all those competing in the Games. President Bach's first stop was the fitness center, where the athletes can keep themselves in shape. He also made sure to motivate the young athletes to chase their dreams, promising to meet them again at the 2026 Milano Cortina Winter Olympics.
You will follow in the footsteps of your Olympic greats. You're on the best way.
The next stop, the Athlete 365 House, where the athletes' education program is in full swing. This program aims to educate young athletes about safety in sports, mental health, and injury prevention. President Bach was joined by 2 athlete role models for Gangwon 2024, Olympic silver medalists Won Yoon-jong and Jackie Naricott, who will serve as mentors to the young athletes throughout the Games. He also took the time to meet with athletes from Ukraine.
We are with you. All the best.
After taking a look around the athletes' residence, President Bach didn't hide his impression of the village.
What I'm hearing from the athletes, they're all very happy, and you know what for athletes is the most important is good sleep and good food. And they all confirmed.
And before joining the athletes for lunch at the dining hall, this was his message for all the young competitors.
It's a great stepping stone then also for the Olympic Games one day. So what I can tell them is, enjoy this experience and then get ready for a great competition. Give it your best and then continue after to do the next step, and this is participation in the Olympic Games.
송유진, 아리랑 뉴스, 강릉.
Let's take a look at the latest news in the world now. In Thailand, an explosion at a fireworks factory has left at least 23 dead. The fireworks factory, located in the Thai province of Suphanburi, some 120 kilometers north of Bangkok, was completely destroyed by the explosion, with no signs of any survivors so far. Local police said that the cause of the explosion is yet unclear. No damage was caused to other buildings as the factory was located between rice fields. Fireworks factory explosions and accidents are not uncommon in Thailand. One worker at the same factory was killed in an accident in 2022. And last year, at least 12 people were killed and 121 injured in an explosion at a fireworks warehouse that damaged more than 100 homes. In France, President Emmanuel Macron announced a wide range of policies on Tuesday in an effort to reinvigorate support amid growing unpopularity. And among those measures are plans to address France's declining birth rate by reforming childbirth leave and combat infertility. Macron said future parental leave will be better paid, albeit shorter than the current parental leave, and will enable both parents to be with their child for 6 months if they so wish. Under the current system, parents can take leave from work until a child turns 3, but the payment of around $435 per month means most parents don't make use of the policy. France's birth rate dropped to 1.68 children per female in 2023, the lowest since 1946. In Kenya, a judge on Wednesday ordered mental health evaluations for cult leader Paul Mackenzie and 30 associates before they are charged with the murder of 191 children. Mackenzie, the head of the Good News International Church, was arrested last April after 429 bodies, including those of children, were found in graves west of the town of Malindi in southern Kenya. Authorities say the doomsday cult leader had ordered his followers to starve themselves and their children to death so they could reach heaven before the end of the world. Kenyan prosecutors said they will charge a total of 95 suspects on counts of murder, manslaughter, terrorism, and torture in what is one of the world's worst cult-related tragedies in recent history. Pet owners and farmers flock to the Vatican to have their animals blessed for St. Anthony's Day. Every year, members of the Association of Italian Breeders gather at St. Peter's Square for the event. January 17th marks the anniversary of the death of 4th century Christian St. Anthony the Abbot, the patron saint and protector of domestic animals, who gave his inheritance to the poor and lived a monastic life in the desert only with animals. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. Southern provinces are seeing lingering precipitation from yesterday, while Jeollabuk-do provinces will see more showers until this afternoon. Those in Gyeongsang-do provinces need to keep an umbrella handy through tonight with 5 to 30 millimeters of rain in the forecast. Meanwhile, Jeju Island will see heavier showers. Those in the east of Gangwon-do need to brace for snowfall from this morning through this weekend. And until tomorrow, they could see up to 15 centimeters of heavy snowfall with a heavy snow advisory possibly issued. Temperatures spiked to 10 degrees Celsius this afternoon here in Seoul, so hopefully the warmth melts all the lingering ice on the roads. The warming trend continues tomorrow as well. Central areas notice a big jump in highs, and the southern provinces will have highs that are slightly higher than yesterday. Gangwon-do and southern regions will see more rain this weekend. That next week there will be a blast of numbing cold sweeping into the country. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
And those are the headlines at this hour here in Korea. Coming up next is our panel session. Do stay with us.